Welcome to the Revenge Story Times channel. Sometimes we are forced to face the harsh reality that those we love the most can leave us with the deepest wounds. A father who has devoted everything to his family, striving to give them a better future, can find himself betrayed by the person he trusts the most. But the real question is, how can a single moment of selfishness completely change the course of a family's life? This story tells of such a tragedy. Get ready for a tale you won't be able to look away from. Before diving into my story, if you don't want your life to be turned upside down like mine, subscribe to my channel to learn real lessons from the real stories we share every day. Just like mine, also share your thoughts about the shocking truths I've experienced in the comments, and please show your support by liking my video. Now that you've subscribed, let's dive into my story. Jack was an IT consultant living in the suburbs of Chicago, deeply devoted to his family. He took immense joy in sharing his life with his wife, Emily, and their 6-year-old daughter, Lily. For Jack, his family was everything. Lily's joyful laughter and Emily's comforting presence were his most treasured possessions. However, Jack's life was filled with business trips. Despite working tirelessly for a better future, he always made sure to prioritize his family. Lily was the light of Jack's life. Curious and playful, she brought vibrant colors into Jack's world. The father and daughter would spend weekends playing in the park and evenings reading bedtime stories. Jack's love for his family extended to his work. He sought better opportunities to secure their future. One such opportunity awaited him in New York, a pivotal business trip that would not only impact his career, but also change his life forever. Before leaving, Jack, as always, meticulously planned everything. He prepared Lily's favorite meals and left Emily a detailed schedule. Although he noticed that Emily had been distant lately, he attributed it to stress or exhaustion. However, the farewell moment would haunt him forever. Emily's cold and almost indifferent goodbye left Jack with a lingering unease. Still, he pushed it aside and decided to focus on work. The moment Jack walked out the door, Emily's demeanor transformed completely. Suddenly, she was energetic, prepared, and even excited. That day, Emily was far from the ordinary wife or mother she appeared to be. She carried an entirely different persona. She chose an unusually eye-catching outfit and applied makeup. Out of a fleeting sense of responsibility, she called the babysitter but canceled at the last minute. She decided to leave Lily home alone. Meanwhile, at home, Lily woke from her nap and started looking for her mother. The silence of the house frightened her. For a little child, the loneliness of a house was an immense source of fear. Unable to find her mother, Lily wandered into the kitchen to find something to eat. Tragically, this innocent endeavor led to an irreversible disaster. During a business dinner in New York, Jack's phone rang. A flicker of excitement crossed his face as he answered, but the voice on the other end would forever alter his life. It was a call from a hospital in Chicago. Lily had been severely injured in an accident and was in critical condition. Jack was now racing against time. As Jack sat at the dinner, a wave of unease washed over him. When his phone rang again, seeing a Chicago number on the screen, he felt a strange sense of dread. Normally, he would expect a message from Emily or Lily, but the caller was a stranger. When he answered, an anxious nurse's voice greeted him. "Mr. Jack, your daughter Lily has been severely injured in an accident, and her condition is critical. She urgently needs a transfusion." These words shattered Jack's world. As he stood up from his chair, his body trembled and his words caught in his throat. Without wasting a moment, he left the dinner, checked flight availability, and rushed to the airport for the earliest flight. At that moment, neither his job nor his career mattered anymore. His only thought was Lily's safety. But nagging questions gnawed at his mind. Where was Emily? Why was her phone off? Why was Lily left alone? At the airport, the hours felt like days. Jack's mind raced with fear and guilt. If only I hadn't taken this trip, if only I had stayed with Lily, he thought. Each minute spent waiting on the plane weighed heavier on his heart. He checked his phone repeatedly, sending messages and making calls to Emily, but none were answered. When Jack landed in Chicago, he rushed straight to the hospital. Upon arriving at the emergency room, he noticed the somber expressions on the nurses' faces, and his heart sank. A doctor approached him with a heavy expression and shook his head. "We did everything we could, but unfortunately, we couldn't save your daughter." Those words destroyed Jack's world. He collapsed to his knees, tears streaming down his face, as Lily's laughter echoed in his mind. The thought of never hearing her innocent giggles again was unbearable. Jack's guilt began to morph into anger. The question of Emily's whereabouts consumed him like an open wound. Why wasn't she with Lily? Why had she left her alone? Early the next morning, Emily finally returned home. Jack saw no trace of concern or remorse on her face. She walked in as if nothing had happened. But the empty expression in Jack's eyes and the grief etched on his face made Emily pause. Emily, still carrying the traces of her night out, the reek of perfume and alcohol, her outfit too bearing the signs of her escapades, walked toward the kitchen without looking at him. But when she felt his piercing cold gaze, she froze. Jack was sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly into the distance. Sensing that something was wrong, Emily tried to speak, but Jack stood up and slowly approached her. "Where were you?" Jack asked, his voice cracked and filled with rage. Emily averted her gaze, mumbling, "I was out with a friend. Just a night out, I needed it." Those words shattered Jack's already broken heart. "A night out," he said, his voice rising. "You left Lily alone while she was in the hospital? While I was rushing back from New York. Where were you? Why was your phone off? Why weren't you there for her?" Emily tried to dismiss his accusations, stepping back and minimizing the situation. It wasn't a big deal. Lily could handle being alone for a bit. "Don't make this bigger than it is, Jack." Jack couldn't contain himself any longer. His voice trembling with anger, he shouted, "Lily is gone, Emily. Our little girl is no longer with us because of your selfish desires. You left her alone." Emily's face turned pale. Jack's words crushed her, leaving her breathless. Her eyes filled with tears as she stammered, I didn't know. I didn't mean for this to happen." But Jack was no longer willing to listen. "Because of you," Jack said, his voice heavy with rage and sorrow. "Because of your selfish choices, we lost our daughter. There is no forgiveness for this. I will never forgive you." That day, Jack handed Emily divorce papers. His mind was made up. Emily had to face the consequences of her actions and live with the weight of her choices for the rest of her life. Jack's pain, combined with Lily's loss and Emily's betrayal, had extinguished even the smallest remnants of love he once felt for her. At the end of the story, Jack turns to the audience with a powerful message. Sometimes, the people you trust the most can let you down, and that betrayal can lead to the greatest tragedy of your life. Protect the ones you love. Never take them for granted. A single moment of selfishness can lead to a lifetime of pain. Thank you for listening. Until the end, see you in the next episode of Revenge Story Times. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.